The courage to work through vulnerability and shame. Now, once again, all these ideas are from Brene Brown. Brene Brown is one of the greatest minds on earth. She's a shame and vulnerability researcher, and I've probably read 5, 6 of her books or listened to some of her speeches, and she's amazing. If there was one person on this planet that I could pick their brain for an hour, she'd be at the top of the list. And she's just genuine. She just knows who she is, flaws and all, and she embraces it. And I just love the way she interacts with her audience. I just love the way she does all these things, and encourage you guys. I'll probably put a few of her TED Talks or some of her books up on the comments so you guys can check it out. She's amazing. And so yeah, these are not my own ideas. I just want to make that clear. But anyways, for a lot of us, like, we kind of misinterpret vulnerability and shame. Or not even misinterpret, we just kind of look at it differently. Because I think for a lot of us, when we hear vulnerability and shame, we kind of like, ooh, man, that's bad. You know why? Because a lot of us take it as weakness. If you're vulnerable and you have shame, like, that's a sign of weakness. And in today's society, you don't want to show any weakness. You want to, like, show strength at all times. Now, that's just, especially as men, we want to appear like we got it together all the time. And we just don't want to be vulnerable because we don't want to be weak. But let me give you a different perspective. We have these speakers who speak in front of tens of thousands of people all the time. And they'll get up on stage and they'll start speaking and they'll pour their hearts out, man. They'll reveal their, like, lowest point in life when they were making stupid, dumb decisions and a situation that almost broke them. And they talk about how they overcame it and came through and come out on top. And by the end, you got people crying and cheering. Like, man, that was one of the greatest speeches ever. Oh, man, that was awesome. And people are like, dude, that was amazing. Loved it. And I kind of go like, man, that guy was great. Yeah. He revealed some of his deepest, like, darkest stuff up there. Like, dude, yeah, like, you know how much, like, strength it takes to, like, tell that painful stuff about yourself? It's like, wait a minute. Hold up. It takes courage and strength for a speaker to speak in front of tens of thousands of people and be vulnerable and say all these things that went wrong and how they made dumb decisions and overcame. That's strength and that's courage. But when I think of, vulnerability for myself and shame for myself, that's weakness. What does that tell you? It's not about vulnerability and shame is good or bad or strength or weakness. It's whatever you perceive it to be. If you perceive it as weakness, then it's weakness. If you perceive it as strength, then it's strength. That decision is up to you. But I guarantee you, every speaker that's vulnerable on a stage or anybody that is, they have to know who they are. They've accepted the fact that they're worth it. They're worth being loved as the person they are. And they don't have to pretend to be anything for anybody. That's true strength. That's true courage. That's how I look at it. But what some of us, we don't have that confidence in ourselves. I know I've gone through the phase really bad where I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think anybody would want to spend time with me. So I pretended to be certain things. I tried to act like somebody that I wasn't to try to get more people to like me because I was always worried that nobody would like me as I was. And so I felt empty and vulnerable. And I always felt the need to just numb that vulnerability feeling. I always felt the need to, like, no, man, I got to get away from that. Look at parties, like, you'll never see a person sitting on a couch by themselves and just doing nothing, just sitting there because they're worried people are going to think of them as a loner. So what do people do? They get out their phone and play on their phone to look busy so nobody thinks that they're just some loner sitting there by themselves. I know I've been there. And I've gotten better over the years because I was worried what people might think about me because I didn't have confidence in who I was. I didn't want to be vulnerable. But I want to tell you, above anything else, you're worth it. You're good enough. You don't have to pretend to be anybody. You are worth being loved just as you are. And if you have to pretend for somebody to care about you, then you might want to reevaluate that relationship. And maybe that might not be worth it. Now, don't get me wrong. We all have to improve as a person. We all got to get better as people. We all have flaws that we got to work on. But if someone can embrace you and accept you for who you are, then I don't know if they're meant to be there for you, whether it's relationship, friendship, or any other way. That's why we all need the courage to work through vulnerability and shame. You can accomplish anything you want as long as you're willing to sacrifice and put in the work. You're worth it. I believe in you. Go get them.